Get somebody else to do his job.
Which job? Jim's job? You want a replacement?
He's a camera. He's been hiding for a while.
Oh. You're not a witness protection.
Not yet.
I think the statute of
But I
limitations.
mean, it's fun. There's real rest. Like it's.
Start on time, man? or-
Yeah, let's start on time for the sake of people at their desks.
figured I might as well do something that I think.
It's at a church. So 5 minutes.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Today we're going to have a brief discussion and overview of the Campus Security Authority, of which you all are. We're going to tell you about what your roles and responsibilities are. We're going to have a little test to test your knowledge of reporting and reporting requirements. Then we're going to watch video. And I think we'll start with the video. This video was made a while back, and it has to do with what the very start of the Clery Act and Title IX got started with incidents like this one. So with that, we will run the video.
This is probably one of my favorites. But most people don't think of her as this serious. But this is the real Jean.
She's absolutely charming, delightful, but a pretty tough competitor if you're on the court with her playing tennis.
The Clearys wanted what every parent wants for their child, a safe, comfortable place where their daughter could learn and grow. In 1985, the Clearys were looking at colleges with Jean. They eventually settled on Lehigh University in scenic Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
She just loved the campus, and I just loved the fact that it was 1 hour and 20 minutes away. She was excited. Oh, she was. She was in the safest place she possibly could have been in.
On a Saturday night in April of 1986, nobody saw the harm in propping open the door here at Jean's residence hall. After all, it made coming and going much easier. But then, the unimaginable happened. As night turned to morning, another student came in through that prop door. But he wasn't coming home from a night out. He was looking for rooms to rob. Jean was asleep in her bed when he came in to her room.
He did everything. He strangled her to death, but he also raped her.
Still personal. Still, something that I'll never forget. This is the case file for the Tom Clery incident.
Ed Shook was a public safety officer when Jean was killed, and now is the chief of police at Lehigh University.
It was my case. I was the lead investigator from Lehigh, along with two state troopers at the time when the incident occurred. And we put a lot of time and effort into a tragic incident, very tragic. My feelings always about for the Clery family.
At that time, no laws required universities or colleges to track or disclose crimes that occurred on campus.
There had been 38 violent crimes. It was not public knowledge. Nobody would know that. Nobody knew anything. But I knew I was going to have to do something to try to prevent other parents, other students of this eternal nightmare that never goes away. Never goes away.
And what they learned was that there really was nothing governing college campus safety. There was nothing to make us aware of crimes happening on or around college campuses.
So Connie and her husband Howard worked tirelessly to convince Congress to pass the Jean Clery Act. It's a federal law that requires campuses to track crimes committed on campus and share that information with the public to make campus communities safer.
I didn't know if anyone had thoughts about getting pictures, what we could do with that in the newsletter on the website.
Allison Kiss heads the Clery Center for Security on campus.
The goal of it is to make parents, students, prospective employees aware of crimes in or around campus, and that you'll have policies and procedures around emergency notification and timely warning if there's a current or ongoing threat to the community.
And that's where you come in. Campus security authorities, known as CSAs, serve a critical role in protecting your fellow students and the campus community in general. So typically, who are CSAs?
The most common would be public safety, campus police officer. Next, it could be someone responsible for campus security. So it may be someone who's monitoring entrance to a residence hall. It could be someone with significant responsibility for student activities. And that's probably the broadest category of campus security authorities. That's where we're going to see resident assistants, coaches, advisors to Greek life or clubs. When students are reporting crimes, they may not go to campus police or public safety. That's where we want them to go. But they may go to someone they have rapport with or someone that they trust. That may be their advisor to their Greek club, it may be their coach, it may be their resident assistant.
Remember, CSAs are people who are designated to report crimes to public safety. So who on campus is not a CSA? Faculty who don't have responsibilities beyond the classroom, clerical or cafeteria staff, and professional or pastoral counselors acting specifically in those counseling roles. While many campuses have security features like call boxes and card access systems, it takes much more than technology to keep a campus safe. It takes the people living and learning in the community. And that's why CSAs are crucial to campus safety. Your duty is to report any and all incidents to authorities so trained individuals on your campus can investigate and accurately track crime on your campus.
CSAs on college campuses are the first line of defense. Safety is a partnership at universities. It's a partnership between coaches, between faculty, between staff, and more importantly, between students. Because they're the ones that are out and about. They're the ones that feel they're invincible. But if everyone works together, in the education we do, we look out for each other, it's a safer campus. And that's why CSAs are critical to every university.
When you get information or when someone comes to you and tell you something happens to them, your responsibility is to make sure you get all of that information. You are supportive to that person, but you also are making sure that people who can help and people who need to know are notified. And you're doing that in a timely manner. As far as investigating as a CSA, that is not a part of their role. There are usually people, professionals, who are at the university who take care of that. Again, the most important part is that you get that information to the appropriate people so that they can do that investigation.
So just to give you an idea, I mean, I've been in RA for 3 years, so I've had a lot of experiences working in the capacity of the CSA.
These CSAs understand their role and realize they have to be ready for anything.
I have had to report clear-related incidents. It's my first night on duty ever. I had an alcohol-related incident.
I dealt with a sort of a drug disposal situation inside one of the dorms while we were doing routine inspections.
Something that I've dealt with recently is a boy possibly harassing residents.
We are not investigators. That's not what your job is to do. Your job is to collect the facts that are right in front of you and give them to someone else, essentially. You don't need to do anything with them. You're just reporting the facts to somebody else.
Under the Clery Act, CSAs need to report the type of crime, the location of the crime, when it happened, and when it was reported to them. There are also certain crimes that need to be reported and counted. They include murder, sexual offenses, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, motor vehicle theft, arson, arrest and disciplinary referrals for liquor law violations, drug law violations, and illegal weapons possession. In 2013, other crimes were added to the Clery Act: dating violence, domestic violence, and stalking. If you're not sure if a crime is a Clery reportable crime, it's always best to report any crime and let campus public safety figure it out.
When in doubt, get as much information as you can from the person who is telling you what's going on, and then find someone who knows. Find your supervisor, whoever you're supposed to report to, and share that information.
The worst thing that could happen is that it's, that they just throw it out. It's better to go on the safe side and err on the side of caution, for sure.
Under the Clery Act, in order for a crime to be counted, it technically needs to occur on campus property, public property within or immediately surrounding the campus, or in off-campus housing or buildings managed or owned by the school. But don't get caught up in geography. Again, remember, it is always important to report all crimes to campus public safety, no matter what.
They don't need to know what the contiguous geography is on the campus. That's what we need to know for our reporting and such. They just need to know if something happened, report it. Whether it could be 10 feet out of our contiguous area, doesn't matter, it still could affect us. And we need to know it. So they just need to know they need to report it to us.
Joe McBride has worked in law enforcement for 44 years. He says the most important thing is to get the information in the hands of the experts as quickly as possible.
Well, because there may be an incident taking place that's ongoing and it's an immediate threat to the university that we have to immediately address. It could be possible that I might have to send out an emergency text notifying the campus that something's happening. I might have to shut buildings down.
It's extremely important for us to get that information as soon as possible. Well, we can reach out through several ways. We have an alert system where we have an emergency messaging system where we can send out information via text messaging, email, cell phone. We have a siren in place as well. All these things that, where within a very short time we can get the information out to our communities.
For orientation, we've got 2 sessions doing orientation, dealing with clarity and violence against women.
And campus safety experts say it's important for CSAs to always be upfront with someone when they report an incident to you.
Tell the student in the very beginning, you're telling me this, but I want you to know that I have to report this information, and this is serious.
If I go to a CSA with the situation, I realize that it might be in their job to tell their supervisor. And if it needs to be, they probably might tell my name.
You have to share information with the proper authorities, such as public safety or the dean of students or resident life. You cannot share information with friends or roommates or anything like that.
Keep the person who's reporting this to you in mind, and always be respectful of them, and understand that you just need to do your best to help them.
If you are looking just to figure out what you want to do, or you're sort of needing to talk to somebody, and you want somebody who's going to maintain confidentiality, then you want to go to the counseling center.
To be clear, the only people who can keep incidents confidential are people who are acting in their roles as professional counselors or pastoral counselors. Depending on the school, criminal incidents are initially compiled using reports like this one. Then those statistics are compiled by each school and made available to the public, so parents, students, or anyone else can see them.
The purpose of having the crime statistics is to make the community aware of the prevalence or the reports of crimes that they're getting, so the community knows what's happening.
It's not all about statistics. I think it's important that college and university have to report statistics, but the Clear Act is all about keeping people safe.
As a CSA, the key questions to ask yourself are, do I know who to contact and what needs to be shared if I receive a crime report? Do I know who to contact if I have questions about being a CSA? And do I know what resources are available to a victim of a crime?
So I think that the training is very important. That most people will do the right thing if they know what to do. And because CSAs do know what to do, they can put you in a much better position.
We want to make sure that the victim is getting their needs met first. I've gone to the hospital with residents before, gone to public safety. That's part of my job as a CSA, is helping them out and getting them through those tough times.
I've had to deal with a lot of sexual assaults, and I was sexually assaulted in high school, and dealing with that and being able to say, okay, well, when I went to somebody for help, I didn't get any. But now when someone comes to me, I'm able to use that experience and the desire to help them to do what wasn't done for me.
And that's what's most rewarding, the satisfaction of knowing that as a CSA, you'll not only be helping victims of crime, but also make your campus community much safer.
Helping people has been priceless. It has been one of the greatest things I've taken away from being at school, is being a CSA and helping all the people that I have.
The end of the day, I think that it really is making sure that you understand that we are all a part of a community, and it's all of our responsibility to make sure that we all feel comfortable and safe.
As a campus security authority, your role is not only to handle the technical elements of the law and the requirements of the law, but to take it one step further and to understand the spirit of the law, and in Jean's honor, to make campuses safer.
She was my best pal. She was everything to me. I just always felt in heaven when I was with her.
The culture has got to change. And you've got to take this stuff seriously because there are a lot of Gene Cleary out there.
And I don't feel good about that. So it keeps me fighting.
Okay, now you should all have gotten a handout with a quiz on it, and Chief's going to go through that, and we can talk about those questions.
All right, in the interest of time, I'll just read the questions out loud and y'all can holler out the answers. Number 1, I am a campus security authority. True or false?
True.
Which of these crimes is not a reportable offense under the Cleary Act?
C.
C, pickpocketing. Number 3, which of these individuals on campus would likely be a CSA?
All the above.
All the above, correct. True or false, if a crime is disclosed to me, I am responsible for determining whether the crime took place before reporting it to campus police?
False.
False. When I receive a crime report, I should B, report and deliver it right away to campus police. Bless you. Number 6, true or false, as a campus security authority, I only have to report crimes involving students, faculty, staff, or visitors on campus.
False.
That is false. Number 7, I am not sure, if I'm not sure whether a crime reported to me falls within Cleary specific geography, I should
C.
Report it anyway to campus police. Number 8, at Piedmont College, I should report immediately any crime information I receive or have knowledge of to the following.
C.
C, campus police. All right. All right, moving right along. The next handout, if you'll look at it for just a few minutes, I think a lot of the crimes on there are pretty much self-explanatory of things that need to be reported. If any of y'all have any questions on those, I'll be glad to answer those. The next section is who are CSAs. I think that's pretty self-explanatory also. I think a lot of times we all sit back, and I always tell the coaches that sometimes we sit back and we think, I'm not never going to have to do one of these. But it's not a matter of if you're going to have to, it's a matter of when you're going to have to. Because, I'll be honest with you, some of these kids trust y'all more than they trust anybody. So they are going to come to you. Of course, I think we've already went over who are not CSAs. At the very bottom of the page, can you pull that up correct? That's some information that's very important. Especially, I always like to highlight if someone tells you about a crime or an incident that might be a crime, you must report it to campus police for inclusion in our crime statistics. How many of y'all have ever looked at our crime statistics?
Where would you find it? He's going to cover that. It's in the annual security
It's on the
report.
annual
We
security
send out
report.
once a year. And it's on the website in the annual security report.
And also, I urge you to look over that because there's a lot of good information about what we do in certain scenarios. Yeah, pull it up.
Can I ask a question while you were doing that?
Mm-hmm.
So, what if you have a student that comes and reports to you, you go through all the proper things, and they say that they've already reported it to somebody else? How do you guys want us to handle that? Do you want us to send an email saying, because I also don't want to know, like, they say they reported it, but it really wasn't. So do you want us to fill out the CSA form? Do you want us to send an email saying this student indicated that this has already been reported? How do you, like,
I would go ahead and do a CSA.
Just
to
do it on
make
the
sure.
form regardless?
Just to make sure.
Now, the first person they told it to might have not been their most highly confident person. They might have just blurted it out, and now they've come to you as someone they trust, and you're likely going to get more detail, you're likely to get more information. Because one of the things you have to remember is if somebody comes to you with something like this, they're likely to be in a highly emotional, agitated state, and so they're just going to spill out everything all at once. It's going to be hard for you to keep up and capture everything. And there are techniques you can use to slow them down and calm them down so that they're not just trying to spill it all out at one time. By asking some, neutral type questions, kind of get you a glass of water, something that will just slow them down for a minute, and then they can continue to tell the story. Because what they're going to do is they're going to try to tell you the whole thing in a run-on sentence that you're going to have a lot of trouble keeping up with. So it's always good to try to put them at ease. And things like, can I get you anything, because you want to make sure they don't have any injuries, and that they're in an emotional enough state to give you what you're asking for, as far as the date, time, circumstance, that sort of thing.
This is kind of what the website looks like. We keep 3-year running totals, and it's basically all the stuff that we talked about that we report. So it's a good idea just to look at. There's some good information in there. Also, make sure that whenever the person, before they get very deep into the conversation, that you tell the person that you are required to report what they're telling you. Does that automatically mean that we jump into a full-blown investigation? No, it don't. It's just that we need to know what happened so we can actually report these things. And this report is available to everybody. So
We're even required to have it available to the prospective students.
Yeah.
HR has it for anyone coming to workforce that wants to see the report. So at someone's request, we provide this report to them. So if you ever have someone request that of you and you don't know who to go to, Liz Butikofer is supposed to keep a copy. I'm going to send everyone a link so you have access to a copy if you ever need to print a report out for someone that asks a question.
And at the end of the statistics, as you'll see, it's got some, in the event of fire, if you become trapped, there's some good stuff at the end of the report that's included as good information about room evacuation, building evacuation.
our numbers look really good, but times are changing. So
we also have the resources available. Yvonne Jones this year, every year, she sends me a list of all the resources that are available in case you're the first point of contact to help someone that's been through a horrific incident that they need help with, or anyhow, that's on there too. I think it's going to be going back to the agenda. Or the,
are you going to send everybody an actual link?
I am.
to
I'm
the
going to send you a
CSA
link.
form?
That's right. I'll send you information so you'll have this resource guide because it covers all different topics and what the resources are in our area to help people.
Anybody got any questions? Got it all?
There's one last thing we'd like to do. There's 3 incidents here, and just go ahead and read the incident like we did with the quiz. So what does the CSA do in this case? Documented.
Need to get a hold of somebody in residence life who's a full-time employee first.
But remember, the first thing is it's a report of a crime having been committed. So you need to get a hold of campus police because we don't know the degree to which the crime has occurred or escalated. But yeah, definitely we need to get a hold of somebody to counsel and to help out. And that's under Title IX. I mean, that's our first responsibility is to accommodate and care for the complainant and making sure that all accommodation, counseling, and other resources have been applied to the complainant in very short order, immediately, so that we can assess and make sure they're emotionally and obviously in certain cases physically okay.
So just to clarify, because I'm hearing two different things. You've said, like in this situation, you're supposed to call campus police, but I thought we're supposed to fill out a CSA form. So by filling out the CSA form, don't you guys then decide who gets contacted?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's always a good idea to get the information in the CSA format. But what I'm saying is if there's something immediate that you need to do, as soon as you complete talking, as soon as you've completed talking to the complainant, you need to call campus police so that they're on it. Especially if there are any serious emotional or physical signs that you've noticed regarding the incident and connected to the incident. Especially physical signs, because then, you know, there's evidentiary things that have to be done, and so campus police needs to know about it. Obviously, emergency response might be necessary, ambulance or whatever. But yeah, you need to fill out the form because that's where you're going to apply the who, what, when, where, and what you've been told. But it doesn't hurt at all to alert the campus police that you have a CSA coming down the pipe. Because not all of us, I mean, we all get them, but not all of us can respond right away or you know, get back in touch with somebody to find out more. A student mentioned to her boyfriend that a number of rooms in her dorm were broken into during the previous night's football game. Later that day, her boyfriend tells the athletic director what he heard. The AD asked which dorm it was and what, if anything else, the boyfriend knows about the incident. Again, this is just a report of criminal activity right now. And so we want to get campus police involved because we may have physical damage to the campus or, you know, vandalism of some sort, and so that's the right way to go. Now, if it connects back into some sort of you know, incident, then that'll get fleshed out at that time. We don't know that right now. And as a CSA, you don't dig for that. You're just reporting what you've been told.
Fred,
yeah.
How quick does that report get back to security?
Well, as soon as the person who is making the report hits send, it shows up on his computer, my computer, and Emily's computer, Emily Pettit's computer. Who all gets it?
I think Kim Crawford, when she was back on campus, we didn't show you a copy of the incident reporting form that is in the packet, and that when you go online and fill that out, and I'm sending you a link to that as well, so if you keep it somewhere that you can find CSA and get to it quickly, you'll have the incident reporting form, and it goes right away.
The point of my question is, should we make that, if, like the first incident, this one's not that serious, but the first incident, we should make a call?
Yes.
Before we do the report, because it's going to take time to do the report.
Yes.
Right.
If it's something that borders on something that's going to have extreme emotional or physical consequences, we should call first. That would be my recommendation.
We're also required to get out timely warnings and emergency notifications, and they're the experts on knowing when they go out in case it is. Most of what you will hear from someone are going to be the lower level crimes. If you have one of these, it's the serious ones that you want to get to them right away. But while you're waiting, you can be collecting the information as far as who are the other witnesses, who are the other folks involved that may need to be talked to once they get there.
This one's about a housing director, off-post counselor has gotten some students that have come to them about being sexually assaulted on campus. They do not want the police involved, and there are third-party reports, but Mrs. Jones has no reason to believe they're not made in good faith. Again, document everything that you have, all the information that you're provided by that off-campus counselor, as much information as that counselor is willing to share with you, and then report it to the campus police so that we can, at a minimum, include it in the clery crime report. It may end up in some kind of investigation, but at this point in time, it's just capture the data. That's the theme. Let me see if I have that. This is what the reporting, our reporting format looks like. And it's electronic on PilgrimNet, and so it's a fill in the blank report.
One thing I like to tell everybody whenever they're filling out the report is make sure whenever you're doing the report, you don't put your office phone number, and as soon as you hit send, you leave that office. Because if it rises to a serious enough event, trust me, we're going to have questions. We're going to be calling. So put your cell phone number in there. That way we can get a hold of you as quick as we can. Also, the same thing with the students involved. We ask that you put their cell phone number in there because we're definitely going to be trying to get a hold of them as soon as possible also to talk to them. Put as much detail in there as you can. That's why it's good to take a few minutes to collect your thoughts before you actually write in the remarks.
And not that you will interview any witnesses, but the complainant may give you several people's names. You should try to capture those as best you can, because they could be witnesses or folks that we would follow up with when we get ready to do the investigation. But we don't want any opinions or we don't want you to try to tell us what you think happened. That'll just dissuade from what we're trying to get after. So, I know all of you are too young to remember Dragnet and Joe Friday, but it's just facts. Just facts. We just need the information as much as we can, and that'll be more than enough to let us get on with what we need to do. Any questions?
Who are those people?
Dragnet.
Dragnet.
Come on, they made a movie.
You're way too young.
They made a movie with Dan Aykroyd. One of the greatest shows of all time.
Oh. Okay. I know that movie.
Yeah, there you go. I had to tie it to their job.
Yeah, if anyone is watching this on the YouTube feed, if you have any questions or anything, let us know, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Well, and also let us know if you've watched it, because you've had training.
Yeah.
We won't know.
Yeah, if you're watching it, please let us know so we can get you credit for having had the training. Because this is probably going to be the last session for this semester, and then we'll plan to probably have more in the spring. But we like to keep this information current because sometimes positions change, and there isn't likely anything going to change under the sun with regard to the Clery Act or Title IX at this point. But it could, and if we do get those kind of changes, we'll have some training to make sure everybody stays current. So, thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Was it Tom Hanks? Yeah, I think Tom Hanks was in Aykroyd, yes, in the movie that they made afterward. The guy who was the doctor, the lead doctor in MASH.
They're like going after Peggy.
Henry Morgan.
Henry Morgan, yes.
Colonel Potter. Yeah, got to be old to remember all that.
No.
Not real old.
I do remember.
It's an old school movie. I need to sign that.
I'll put it on my
I think did not give her the opportunity.
Well, he hasn't officially.
Y'all got signing sheet?
I just didn't know that.
Yeah.
She told me to go sit down.
I had full break out of the bid. Hispanic kid.
And I have built the database with all these people that have had the training and all their email addresses as well as cell phone numbers that I'll send to you. So you have. He's in Texas. You're training like over 100. Keep your pen.
Y'all have a good one.
I don't know what those kind of people make. I have no idea. Not one day.
I think we've
The
talked
first
about
round
it.
of so I told Emily, I said I'd rather err on the side of giving them an opportunity. And then because there's a couple of this and
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
when she gets Smith.
Yeah.
She had just talked to Jean before, wanting, and then I sent an email, wanting to come back.
She's a school teacher.
Yeah, well, she took a huge pay cut. I think she's completely overqualified for it. But I know she is also connected to Background Money, so I was in touch with Background Money and see,
Good.
because if they can make a deal at the Money Center, Jean is likely, and she's right access. So when I was here, I think we're waiting for some, and then we get it. I started watching the first round of her interviews, and I was very impressed.
So you did good?
So far. But we
Okay.
haven't had, we haven't ready to
She's a
make
good
canvas
kid.
yet.
She's a really good kid.
Yeah, she talked about wanting to move her family up here and blah, 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 but I think she might be more of a better fit for taking over kind of what I've done with the learning center and getting me out there. And she's got the running component, so she can create the breaks, and which, holy crap.
Yeah.
I gotta go talk to Stephanie and see if there's a way. How quick would I move out of that?
We've got to get. I don't know what he wants to do. We want somebody to do classes. Our kids are so unprepared.
Here's my thought. I disagree with remedial classes. Unless they're done right. I think what we have to have is we have to have just-in-time training that's required. You know, like, okay, so let me give you an example. The English 1101. If you've got kids that have a 470 on their writing coming in, if there's enough of them, yeah, it might make sense for the class. However, the other component of that is, do you make that a 4-credit class versus a 3? And their 1 credit is, you know, they did a really good job. They created all these workshops that align directly with what they're doing to provide the extra support. And we went to them. So, like, for them, like, it's got to be a requirement. Like, you have to go to this, this, and this. And if you do these 10 of, you know what I mean? So it's a matter of how it's rolled out.
Look, we're about to go, I'm telling you, we're the test option. We're not even going to see this one. We're going to have no idea. We eliminated the essay. We're about to go test option. So we are? Yeah.
Why?
Because everybody else is doing it. So we don't want to have it.
Yeah, but then there's more work for admissions. You got to have interviews and stuff. We aren't the manpower for that.
No, they don't want to do that. They just want to look at the GPA. Look, the GPA tells
It
you
does nothing.
nothing today. Nothing.
Yeah, because it's so inconsistent. Interesting. Very interesting.
I know our students can't write.
I would say that's across the board.
They can't write.
I would agree with you.
And I can't tell you how many of that group last year that was ineligible that I met with. I can't tell you almost all of them said they had never had to write a paper in high school. They don't even know where to start. That's why I'm like,
So maybe there needs to be an English 1100, an English 1101, an English 1102. But I think calling it, I hate to call it English 420. You know what I mean? But like, you can survey the kids, and you know, Jason Odom's an example. He told me he's never had to write over a 3-paragraph essay. Okay, well, you got a kid like that, you know that they're going to need the basics.
Right.
You know, so I think there's some screening stuff we definitely could use. So, anyways,
we're going in the opposite direction.
yeah.
Oh, it's an impedance.